Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the Collingwood preview. Going to take a look at the pies in a minute as we work our way through all the clubs. We're checking out a player that I'm locking in, someone who's a bit of a risk, breakout contender, someone who's no chance for my side in SuperCoach 2020. So hopefully you guys can give me a bit of feedback on who you're looking at from each club. But I think it's pretty clear who the lock is at Collingwood, and that's definitely Brodie Grundy. I think he's going to be in just about every side. It's hard to see him not being in most. And look, most people are talking about Gawn and Grundy. So we've seen him do it back-to-back seasons. And he was in my lock videos for 2020 just the other week. And nothing's changed. So Grundy, after averaging massive numbers, what is it, about 130? He's pumped out the last 2 years. It's pretty hard to argue. So you pay top dollar, but it's worth it for Grundy. Now, the risk is a little more interesting. Now, Jordan to Goey I've got down here, and the Pies have a plethora of players. They've got a stack of players, particularly through the midfield, and that's what makes it really tricky. There's a lot of points to share around in that engine room. And can De Goey get a chance in there? Can he get more of a run in there? Now, the past 2 seasons, he's averaged 87.2 and 87.8. Now, he's priced at 473k in our forward line, so he's not cheap. But he is a bloke that everyone feels will just dominate at some stage. Now, he's dominated games. He's been a match winner already. But in terms of SuperCoach, he hasn't exactly delivered in terms of consistency. Now, we've seen those big games and we've seen him dominate games. He's a very exciting player. But in terms of probably doing the quantity of it, which probably brings his numbers from 87 more somewhere in the 90s, it won't take much. That's going to be the difference. Now, I think a little bit more time through the middle would definitely help. It always does. We always like to get as many players who get time in the middle into our sides. Now, the problem with De Goey is that he's so good as a forward. Now, particularly when they can isolate him deep one-on-one. But the problem is that while this is dangerous and intimidating for opposition sides, for us in SuperCoach land, it can see him not touching the ball for up to 10 minutes or 12 minutes or getting a kick to him and him not being able to grab the mark or get the ball, and then it rebounds and he's just sitting one out in the goal square. And he might only kick 1 goal or something like that, but we'd probably rather him run through the midfield and get 5 touches and then a tackle and set a goal up. You know, there's just, as we know, the midfielders, they just get more opportunities to score. So he's certainly a gun of our game, and I think he's still got another level to go. I mean, he's only 24, but at some stage I think we'll be talking about De Goey as one of the absolute scoring superstars of our game. I'd just be very interested to see when that's going to be. He's not on many people's radar, so that's fair enough, but I was just looking through and he just popped out to me, and I thought he just might be worth putting on the radar, not to select necessarily, but just someone to think about and monitor throughout his career, and he could be a good draft selection as well. Now, the breakout contenders, they're always a popular one to talk about, because who doesn't like a breakout contender? We love to find a player that just boosts his average big time. Now, I've got Braden Sire. Is it Sire? Is it Sear? I don't even know. But, he goes by fill-in more often than not, which was quite amusing. And probably to this point in time, is probably the number one thing that people know him for. But this bloke is an absolute unit and can really win his own footy. And again, as I touched on, the Pies have a stack of midfielders, and he is probably towards the bottom end of the list. And that's not a bad thing, because there will be opportunities, and it's a pretty strong field, so it's not a slap in the face. But from what I can gather, him and Rupert Wills are 2 prime candidates to get the game time or more opportunity that will be left following Dame Beams. He is obviously having some struggles, and we obviously wish him well, but he's not going to be playing footy at the moment. So that does open up an opportunity for a player like him. Now, 242k in our midfield, and as I said, he's a beast. They call him the Bear, 191 centimetres, 88 kegs. This bloke is a big fella. 23 touches, 9 tackles in his first game of 2019. Scored 103. That was round 12. We thought, hello, this bloke can play. He's going to score pretty well. And that was off 8 games in 2018 where he averaged 80.1. Now, it didn't continue on. He only averaged 49.7 last year from the 6 games. So he just cannot get opportunity. Obviously, he made the headlines for the wrong reasons last year. But this fella is definitely someone that could really boost his average. Now, it's all about opportunity. And I feel I say this all the time, but it really is for these guys who are on the periphery, whether it be they're getting a bit too much forward time or they just can't break out of the twos. They're just, 5th, 6th or 7th down the line in terms of an inside mid or a genuine mid. It's just about getting that opportunity. And I think if he does get that chance in the middle or just a little bit more, whether it's Pendlebury, having less time in there and obviously Beams is open up and just the new generation of player coming through. You never know what sort of a look a club wants to go with, but he can definitely play. And I think given that opportunity, we can lock in tackles, we can lock in contested ball. Sometimes he can turn it over. I know he had heaps of contested ball in his second game of 2019, but he had like 9 clangers. So I think he scored about 30. So there's pros and cons to it. I'm not saying this bloke's going to average 85, but we've seen him average 80 over 8 games. There's no reason that he can't average 80 again because he's done it already. If he gets that opportunity, there's no reason he can't. If we can get someone at 240k to average around 80, then that's really juicy. But we're just going to have to watch him through the pre-season. Now, Callum Brown also, not going to pick him, but just for the record, I think he's a very good player. And I think he'll be a very good SuperCoach player in a few years. Maybe even next year, but we'll see. Who's no chance for my side? Darcy Moore. Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate what you did. You were great last year, but you're not going anywhere near my side this year. And I don't think you'll be in anyone's side, unfortunately. But you did us a good job last year. Averaged 74.7. That includes a 13 when he got injured. And we know the body concerns he's had. And ultimately, they hurt him last year and through the finals and all that. But he really did find his role as a great interceptor. Doesn't find a stack of the ball, but he reeled off back-to-back tons late last year, or at least late in his year before injury struck him down. So he can certainly find plenty of the ball in the air. It's just he's not going to rack up too many handball receives and that type of thing. But he reads the play really well. Bumped his average up from about 49 to 74. Made us some good coin. But now he's just a bloke that's done us a good job, and he'll probably average around that if he can get back to full fitness and maybe even up it into the 80s once he really consolidates. But we're not going to be going anywhere near him in 2020. So let me know what you think. Are you picking a few pies in your side? Let me know how you're travelling. I'll have the Bombers up next. Should have them up over the next couple of days, I reckon. So stay tuned for that. So looking forward to hearing your comments. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.